What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Stay Hot. I'm Blaiden Kirk, joined as always by my two favorite co-hosts of all time, in Matthew Sponhour and Theo Ash. Today, we are welcoming back an old friend of ours, Nico A.K.A. Elite Takes, to discuss the NBA draft, some of his takes and top 10 lists, and then, of course, we're going to do our question of the week. So, Nico, I hope you have a game show ready that you think you would win, but before we get into that, how are you doing today? Welcome back to the show.
Pretty good. I'm really excited to talk with you guys again.
It's been a minute, so let's make it a banger of an episode. But make sure you guys subscribe to the YouTube channel and join the chalkboard, because that's where we get the question of the week. But Nico, do you have anything that you would like to plug? We just talked about how Nico doesn't have a podcast. You need a podcast, right?
I might come around to it.
All the comments should agree that Nico deserves a podcast.
For now, I'm just like the designated podcast guest, like a designated hitter in baseball.
That's fair enough. Fair enough. So just your TikTok then?
Yeah, just Elite Takes on TikTok and Elite Takes _ on Twitter. Go drop a follow.
Okay. Make sure you guys follow Nico. He's also in the chalkboard. I didn't know you were in the chalkboard.
I thought for sure that was just someone making it up.
Some fraudulent Elite Takes persona enters the chalkboard app.
Hey, if you want to join chalkboard, that's a good thing. Like I got the username just Theo. Like it's a pretty new app, so you can pretend to be. This is opening up Pandora's box.
You want to be LeBron? That one might be available.
LeBron James is probably right there for you to take. All right. You can pretend to be anybody. There's no verification system, and every username is available. So join the chalkboard and pretend to be like J.R. Smith. I don't know.
That's a good point. Hey, I'm gonna have to email chalkboard so they can like get us verified on chalkboard. But should we talk about the NBA draft?
We should.
Some basketball.
We probably should, yeah.
So I know, like on Twitter, everyone's talking about like winners and losers and whatnot. One team that I really like that I thought maybe some people seem to be indifferent about is OKC. Right? I saw a lot of people think that maybe OKC didn't do a great job with the picks that they had, but I think like one of like the age old questions is like, oh, do you trade out of picks? Do you hold on to your picks? And OKC kind of did the opposite, which is they got more. So, I think when you have 1 billion draft picks, it's like kind of the easiest way to maybe if you're, not so good at drafting to like get, a good player out of that. I don't know.
I mean, they got Chet. I thought that was the number one prospect in the draft. So I like their strategy, and I'm guessing what a lot of people are expecting them to go like make the big move for a star established player, and I don't know if that's really ever going to be there, or like that's not their play right now. So I kind of like the idea of they're going to keep taking shots on guys who are really high upside, who could be 1As, because they don't have that right now, and you're not really through your rebuild until you've got a guy who you think can be like that. Like even a Detroit, like they feel like Cade can be that like that, or the Rockets, I feel like Green can be like that. So I like the fact that they go out there and they take shots, and Presti is one of the best drafting general managers as far as like acquiring talent through the draft. He's probably the best there is, or if not one of the top 3. So I like what they did. If he's got a guy who he thinks is good and he's going to go out and get him, I can respect it.
Nico, who is your favorite team? Which team did you like the most in this draft?
I mean, I think the obvious answer is the Pistons, but that's like such a mainstream take. So I'll go with a little more underrated one. I think the Pacers honestly had a really good draft. I like Benedict Mathurin. He's not going to be like the superstar player, but he knows his role. He's a good athlete. He plays good defense. And then I also liked Andrew Nembhard. He's like this really good true point guard, not like this insane scorer, but he makes the right reads. He's a great passer. And then they took Kendall Brown late, and I'm like, Kendall Brown's just not very good at basketball, but he is an insane athlete. So I think like in the late second round, you can take someone who's just not that good at basketball if they're that good of an athlete.
Yeah, I like what they did pretty good. I know Mathurin is gunning for LeBron James here.
Oh, yeah.
Bit.
I'll believe it when I see it.
Yeah.
Wait, they're trying to get LeBron.
Oh yeah, he said something like
he's saying that he wants to see if he's actually any good. I appreciate all of the like when Chet is like, yeah, I'm the best player in the league, or Benedict Matherin's like, let's see if LeBron is really up to snuff. I appreciate when the young guys do that. I think it's funny.
Yeah,
I thought all of my takes. I just noticed now that the Thunder drafted 2 guys named Jalen Williams, which is funny, and they therefore win the draft. That's my elite analysis.
You can't say that about anybody else. Everyone else drafted guys with completely different names.
Yeah, I know. So the fact that they got 2 guys named Jalen Williams, like if one of them's got to work out. So
you would think.
That's just my fit. There's no way they both fail, right? So I think they really had a foolproof process, and I really like what they did. All my draft takes are just from Chip Jones, like from what we talked about him with in the last episode, and from his podcast that he just did with Ben Taylor for Thinking Basketball. I just listen to both of those things, and that's just where I get my draft takes from. So the Grizzlies won the draft because of how much I've listened to him in the last week or so.
I thought the Magic
I think the
won
one
draft
team
because of
Magic
vibes.
Chet.
Yeah.
I mean, I did like Chet the most. Not Chet. Paulo. Jesus Christ. Paulo. Yes. I thought that he was the best player based on, just watching him in the tournament. I was like, damn, he's like 6'10". Pretty good handle, pretty good passer, great finisher at the rim, like pretty good defender. Duke was called fluke, and everybody was projecting them to go out early because they lost that game against UNC late in the season, and then they ended up getting to the Elite Eight. And I thought Paulo was, the main reason that was happening, and his skills for someone that size was like noticeably pretty damn good. Best player Duke has had in a while is what it looked like to me. So he was my number one. Meanwhile, I'm a Gonzaga hater because they always get bounced early in the tournament. Every year, Gonzaga, do not bet on them. And every year, people are like, no, bro, this year is different with Gonzaga.
It's their year.
Look, so he's just not a winner.
He's just a Gonzaga player. Like, oh my God, dude, I know you don't play anybody, but he is Chet is my number 2. I just think Gonzaga is a little bit, or Gonzaga, however you say it, is a little bit fun to slander.
Gunmida.
Yes,
what are your thoughts? What are your thoughts? You see, Matt, our token Hornets fan here. What are your thoughts on what the Hornets did?
Mostly great things. No.
Oh yeah.
I'm not super upset about what they did. It was a little. The way that it played out probably is worse than what the actual end result was. Like, they went into this draft and they traded one of their picks to kick the can down the road, which is lame, and they lost a little value doing it. But going from 13 to what's probably going to be the 25 in 4 seconds is not really that bad. And I think that Mark Williams is exactly what the Hornets needed, and I like him a lot, and he's very tall, so. I'm excited for him. I think he fits exactly what the Hornets need, and he's going to be able to contribute pretty early. But it does suck because Duren was pretty far above, in the rankings, I guess, of where Williams was for a lot of people. So to have him fall to us when I would be like, oh, there's a chance Duren falls. So people are like, oh no, there's no way. You're gonna have to trade up to get him, and then they didn't, and then that's the guy they drafted to trade. Really sucks. So. I would have liked Duren and maybe to pick another wing, but I do understand if the Hornets had drafted, if they had gone out and drafted 2 rookies, they'd have half their rotation of guys who basically never played. And if they're trying to be a competitive team, which they are, I think that gets pretty tough.
What do you think about them bringing their new coach or their new old coach back?
I think it's really not the worst thing in the world. I don't think it's a downgrade from Borrego at all. Clifford is strong defensively, and he's gotten some not great teams with not great defensive personnel to the playoffs. The Orlando Magic team made it a couple years before they kind of just imploded. But on Twitter, and it does look like this is something that an unserious team does, I'm afraid. I can't deny that. There's we're going to go bring back the coach we wanted decided he didn't like us anymore. So we're going to go get the guy we just fired to come back. So It's not awesome, but I still think the Hornets are a better team than what they were at the end of this most recent season. So I'm not too upset about it. And I still think the path of them getting significantly better is there. But maybe they didn't have a strong enough offseason to win, say, 50 games.
Yeah, Nico, I don't know if you know this, but Matt said the Hornets are going to win 50 games.
I said they could if they had a good offseason, and they didn't have that good of an offseason.
The offseason's not over. The offseason hasn't even really
it's
begun.
not over. It could only get worse.
Anyway.
The only real big thing that could happen, I think, at this point would be Miles leaving, which hopefully won't happen. But if that happens, they definitely won't win 50 games.
Anyway, Nico, you're the guest on here, and we just went on our own little tangent. You're a Rockets fan. What did you think of Jabari Smith, that third overall pick?
I mean, it was the guy we had to take. Like, you can't really question that pick whatsoever. I kind of agreed with like what a lot of people in the draft space were saying, that like he's not really a superstar. He's just really lengthy and shoots the three well. But maybe he can develop into that one day. I saw like this anonymous article where they interviewed scouts, and all of them said like, you would be stupid to not take him number 1 overall. I was like, maybe that's a smokescreen, but I guess that sounds pretty nice to hear.
I think, what do you think, like, the expectations are for the Rockets in this rebuild? Like, you've just traded away Christian Wood. Now you've got 2 top 3 picks in Jalen Green and Jabari Smith. What else do you want to see them do this offseason? And what are your expectations for next year? And when are your expectations that they'll actually start to turn around and put like a winning basketball product out on the court?
I mean, this offseason, I would preferably like to get the John Wall problem solved, because you can't just have him like sitting at the bottom of the bench making $47 million a year. You got to eventually get rid of him. And if that costs you money, oh well. But I just want to go all young guys, just let them all get some run throughout the year and tank for Victor Wembanyama. Like, why wouldn't you want to tank for that 7'5" dude? So like, I think the Rockets, I don't expect much from them next year. I see them being in the tank for Victor race, very much so. And maybe like once you get like 2025, I saw some dude on TikTok saying the Rockets win the finals in 2025. So I guess I'll say we make the playoffs in 2025.
I really think their rebuild's going great.
Oh yeah, I think
we're big Jalen Green guys on this podcast. I think, and the way he was playing at the end of last season, I feel like people are still sleeping on him a little bit. But I expect huge things out of him. And I honestly think like this year, it's like, okay, yeah, you're too young probably to be super competitive, but that's okay. But after this season, I mean, you could still have another really high draft pick. Maybe it's Victor, and then, yeah, you're set for sure. But regardless, you'll get off of John Wall's money, and Eric Gordon's money will be, I think he has like a non-guaranteed contract. So you'd be in a situation where you've gotten a lot of talent. They've had some time to grow, and you have a ton of money in free agency. So I think after this next season is when they could really make a move to be competitive.
Nico, would you agree that the Sacramento Kings are going to have the MVP and Rookie of the Year this season?
Brother.
I mean, that franchise is just poor De'Aaron Fox, man.
It breaks my heart. I love De'Aaron Fox.
I didn't hate their pick at number 4.
I didn't either.
Looking into like how efficient he is on the offensive side of the ball is like kind of ridiculous. He just can't like create his own plays. Like that's kind of his like. I mean, this is another Chip Jones day. This is going to be my Chip Jones podcast. It's just like tell him what to do and he's going to do it correctly. And just kind of like what, like after they picked him and everyone is like, oh my, like gave it an F- grade, and my timeline just exploded about like what the fuck are the Kings doing? I looked into him a little bit myself, so this isn't completely, someone else's decision here. But like, man, Jaden Ivey said like he kind of like insinuated that he would not love to play for the Kings. First of all. Second of all, how many times have they drafted guards in the last couple of years? You kind of got to let that position breathe a little bit instead of just like finding their replacements every single year. And the more years you go just drafting guards high, like the more the rest of the roster is going to rot away. So you've got Sabonis who can create. You've got De'Aaron Fox who can create. you don't need this rookie to, like, they're sort of in like a weird win now mode where they've got guys to be the guy there. So to get like a high level role player that is probably happy to get drafted that high and play there, who's a forward, I don't see who's hyper efficient on inside scoring, mid-range scoring, and 3-point scoring. Like, okay, fine. That's not the worst thing I've ever heard in my life. So I don't know who made the biggest mistake in the draft, but like, to me, that wasn't like a Kings have no clue what they're doing moment.
And I don't think they could have really traded out of that either.
I think they could have. I really don't think what they did was that bad. I have not yet seen a trade for the number 4 pick that actually made sense for them and was good value, in my opinion. And it's like, if they had drafted Ivy, people would have called him dumb anyway. If they had done any trade I had seen, people would have called him dumb. If they didn't pick Ivy, people would have called him dumb. So I think this is maybe just a haha Kings moment more than it is like them doing something incredibly stupid. But if Ivy turns out to be great, which there's, a decent possibility he is, it's going to look bad. I do believe in best player available no matter what, but it's like, how would him and Fox probably are not the best fit. The spacing on that team would have been rough. So I don't hate the Keegan Murray.
If Ivy works out on the Pistons, it's not even going to matter for the Kings because the situations just could not be more completely different in the type of role that he's going to take on and the type of minutes he's going to get. So yeah, I just think their process was like fine, not great, but I guess fine. So anyway. That's my whole thing. BLAIDEN, to answer your questions about the Sacramento Kings, is I don't think they actually did the most horrible job, but I digress. That's probably our draft analysis.
Nico, what are your thoughts on the value of draft picks in the NBA? Matt and I talked about this a little bit on our live stream yesterday and how it's like, it's not even in the same realm when it comes to like the NFL.
Oh, no. I feel like in the NBA, there's kind of this common belief that anyone outside of the lottery is probably going to end up sucking. So like every draft class, when you look back, there are only like 10 to 15 reliable starting level players. Whereas in the NFL, and they value the assets more in the NFL. Like you can legitimately flip those for really good players. Like I could go out right now and trade a 4th rounder for Robert Quinn. Whereas like in the NBA, you can trade your 2nd rounder for like Juancho Hernan Gomez.
You could trade it for like Subway sandwiches, maybe.
Yeah. I think the thing about that is like your odds of hitting on those late picks are very low.
Yeah.
But it's kind of the thing that you need to be able to do that if you're gonna be a great team. Like that's the hard part. For like what makes the Celtics so good is partially like they not only did they hit on, Tatum and Brown obviously really high, but it's like, yeah, the 27th pick wasn't worth that much of them, but they got Robert Williams with him in like 2018. So you look at championship teams, that ability to like, it's a big roll of the dice to keep those late picks.
Draymond,
right. Yeah. Like it's a roll of the dice to hit on those picks, but like you have to gamble to win. You have to be able to do it. If you just trade your first round picks for the value, like your late first for the value that they are, and that's all you do forever, you're never going to be a championship team. You can't win that way. So the way to, in my opinion, let's like, they are less valuable. Your odds are bad, but you have to play those odds.
For sure.
Yeah. Another guy, Matt, you mentioned was Maxey.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And that's how those high level teams continue to like put themselves in a good spot. Yeah, that's what keeps like, how did the Warriors dynasty extend itself? Well, partially because, Curry is still really, really great and, Draymond's still really, really great. But being able to go out and find a guy like Poole is something that maybe like you look at the Milwaukee Bucks, they haven't really, since they've gotten Giannis and Middleton, they haven't really hit on, big time on one of those firsts. Whereas, the Warriors are maybe more keen to do that. And a lot of the guys they have coming up too, like Moody and Kuminga, are looking really good.
Well, in the NBA draft, you may have to take some risks, but with our good friends over at Factor, you don't have to worry about that, as Stay Hot is brought to you by Factor. And when I was little, I used to be more of the indoor type, but as I've gotten older and the weather's nice, I love to be outside. And I don't want to spend all my time, at home cooking food. And Factor really gives me that opportunity to, spend more time enjoying, this early summer with, I don't have to cook, I don't have to grocery shop, do dishes. And it's, the perfect health conscious grab and go with stuff like add-ons and, smoothies and juices. So, luckily I don't have to do any meal prep and I can just eat well and have, leave my meals to Factor. It makes it really easy for me to eat clean 24/7 with fresh, never frozen prepared meals that are so delicious, you wouldn't even believe they're actually good for you. Factor saves me time by delivering chef-crafted meals to my doorstep, eliminating the hassle of grocery shopping and meal prep, not to mention cleanup. Each Factor meal arrives pre-prepared and ready to eat in just 2 minutes. That's even faster than like DoorDash. Factor tackles the tough stuff so I don't have to. It's just that simple. Their registered dietitians and expert chefs work hand in hand to create meals with nutritious ingredients. And with more than 29 meal options each week, I'm never bored. Factor even knows my preferences. They offer vegan and veggie meals, keto meals, low-calorie options, cold-pressed juices, smoothies, energy bites, plant-based bars, extra protein, veggie sides, and more to keep me fueled and focused all day long. So head on over to go.factor75.com/stayhot120. Use the code stayhot120. That's all one word to get $120 off. That's the code stayhot120 at go.factor75.com/stayhot120 for $120 off. Should we talk about the NFL? Nico, you've been on a tear recently on TikTok. I don't know if we've mentioned that before. But one thing you've been really killing it with is these top 10 lists and these just like take lists. And recently you also had a video of like takes that everyone should agree with. So I think it would be a good idea. Theo had this idea that we should go through the takes that you think everyone should agree with and see if any of us disagree with them.
Sounds good.
All right. Which is the first one you would like to test us on? Or do you have them up? Or I have them up if you would.
I have them up.
Yeah. Okay.
The first one, I think this is the one I'm most confident in. Wins are not a quarterback stat. It's a bad way to evaluate quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I feel.
Everyone agreed?
Yeah.
I think sometimes the only time I disagree with that is Lamar Jackson, who has like a career record of 37-12 in his career. And yet he has a lot of haters. And I will pull out if he is so bad, why do the Ravens keep winning? So I guess when it benefits me, I don't know. With him, I always hear the league has figured out Lamar Jackson, but it's bro, the Ravens have won so many games in the last 4 years. I don't know. It's a little bit. It's more of a quarterback stat than anything else. But just because a quarterback wins a lot of games doesn't mean
it's Jimmy Garoppolo having a high win percentage. I think is kind of fraudulent because you look at how good his team is and how good the play calling has been around him. But Ravens fans consistently complain about Greg Roman's awful play calling. So and they have no receivers. Well, that's yet to be seen. We'll see how Bateman is. But for the Ravens to keep winning with Lamar, he's like that.
I just think people associate winning with these cliches that I hate when they're he's just a winner. He knows how to command the locker room. I'm are you in the locker room? How do you know that? It's Justin Herbert needs to be a better leader. I just don't get that.
Yeah, that stuff is completely made up, dude. It's how would you know?
Winning is just such a... I don't know. People just associate it with these generalizations that I can't get behind.
Me and Blaine were talking about this the other day. It's when a quarterback's coming up, in the draft process, sometimes you hear oh, he's a winner, but you never hear oh, this dude's a loser. This guy just doesn't win.
All he cares about is stat padding and
he only cares
reels.
About yards, man, and it shows.
You heard that with Mahomes
sometimes. 75-yard dot, just such a non-winning football play.
I do think that it's always interesting about how we evaluate college talent versus NFL talent. Because if you're coming up through the draft, right, if you're scouting the draft, you don't just sort it by total yards in draft. Otherwise, Bailey Zappi would be the first overall pick this year. People know to watch film when it comes to the best way to evaluate college players. People know sorting by wins or sorting by like Mac Jones was the 5th quarterback off the board, right? But he was a Heisman candidate and he won the national championship. Why didn't that make him the best quarterback in that draft class? It's the same deal in the NFL, right? Obviously winning MVP or being in the MVP consideration probably means a little bit more when it comes to being like the absolute best quarterback. But like, just because you win the national championship, just because you win the Super Bowl, just because you win a lot of games doesn't always make you the best quarterback. Like, yes, it helps to be a really good quarterback when it comes to winning a lot of games, but there's more nuance to it than that.
And it's even worse in the NBA too. I mean, I swear to God, almost every single year, it's just whichever superstar is the best supporting cast around them wins, and then he's deemed the best player in the league.
Yeah.
So I agree.
Fair enough. Nico, would you lead us on to the
next one? I started off with my most easy to agree with. This one is probably going to be my hottest one, and it's that Bill Belichick is not the best coach in the NFL anymore.
I don't think it's ridiculous to say that he is even still. I've got a certain like reverence for what he is as a defensive mind, and so many of the trends that you see in the league now, Belichick was doing years and years ago. So to me, they made the playoffs this year. They went 7-9 with a roster of Cam throwing to just a horrible wide receiving core. I still think Belichick has got like if you go into New England and you've got to play Belichick, like I still think that instills a certain amount of preparation level that you need to be at and you need to play at. That playing a guy like Zach Taylor, even though he was just in the Super Bowl, doesn't quite entail. So right. I don't know. I'd probably say Shanahan or McVay at this point as best coach, but Belichick is still in that tier 1 for me. So I don't necessarily agree with this take.
It's not like a Bill Belichick is washed take. It's more of like, I've talked to my friend and he's this huge Patriots fan and he's adamant that Bill Belichick like gave up play calling at the end of the year. His defense got humiliated by Josh Allen. He's making all of these awful roster decisions. And I'm like, I kind of feel like people to a certain point have gatekeeping him a little bit and they don't really, pay attention to the way the team kind of fell apart this year. So maybe it's a little recency bias, but I just don't think he's number 1 the way everyone like pencils him in.
With Belichick, when it comes to roster decisions, I do agree that I don't think he's ever really been good at that. I see a lot of people like loving, the Patriots defense still. And I'm like, bro, that secondary is very, very suspect.
Yeah.
Like Jalen Mills is your number 1 corner, bro. What are we talking about?
So it's weird for a team that values corner so much.
Oh, last year, yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm saying coming into this season, I'm like, they lost J.C. Jackson.
There's been for a long time like this idea that when you trade with the Patriots and they'll go and trade some like 5th round pick for somebody, everyone will be like, oh my God, you messed up. The Patriots always win on these. And I think the reality is that the Patriots win on those pretty rarely at like a pretty normal rate as everybody else. Yeah. And the easy one to point to is like Randy
Mohamed
Moss.
Sanu. Oh,
Mohamed Sanu, they totally messed up. They mess up all the time.
Worst. That was such a bad trade.
They do not actually outclass everyone in trades as much as people think. And you got to realize the Randy Moss stuff, that was like 15 years ago. This is a long time ago. I remember so specifically Coney Ealy after the Super Bowl. He got traded for just to move up 8 spots, right? And everyone called the Panthers like, how could you make that deal with the Patriots? You just know he's going to be amazing. He did not make the roster. So,
oh my gosh, I didn't even know that.
Yeah, he didn't make the roster. He was playing for the Jets that year.
That's funny.
But yeah, no, I've always felt that that's a little bit overrated, but I do think he's got an argument for being the number 1 coach right now, but I could see it either way.
Yeah, I think if you're looking at like Theo said, tier 1 coaches, like McVay, I think is the only one I think I could also see Tomlin. I think McVay and Tomlin are for me the guys that I could potentially put over Belichick, just because Belichick is like 72. So like, even like that's what I'm so like. Yeah, he knows his shit, but it might come a little bit slower. Just like a hair.
Are you calling him?
I'm just saying. Like, Sean McVay's
saying
like
that
30,
his mind's not all there.
Sean McVay's like half his age, bro. I'm just saying, like,
respect
in terms
your
of,
elders.
I'm just saying, like, in terms of like processing speed. Like, I think I would trust McVay, but I do still think Belichick is the best.
I think I would trust the guy with like 50 years of experience who's seen like everything a million times
in like preparation,
speed.
But like I don't in a game time scenario. I don't
think that he's that.
You know, if Belichick's calling the plays on offense, they're gonna have a couple delay of games. It takes a little bit longer to get going.
He's gonna throw the red challenge flag when he doesn't really need to. Sometimes here.
He's not gonna be able to find it in his. There's a couple times where he's gonna be reaching. Didn't that happen actually? Did that not actually happen?
I think there's just this video where it took him like 20 seconds to rip it out of his sock, and everyone was like, "Oh, they're gonna snap the next play before he can do it." It's like,
man, maybe you're onto something then. BLAIDEN.
I'm just saying, but no, I would still.
Oh no, it's Pete. It was Pete Carroll. That's who couldn't do it.
Pete Carroll's also like 70.
He's also old as shit, but whatever.
But no, I still think I would take Belichick. Belichick is the greatest coach of all time, right? I think that's.
I can agree with that.
That's a consensus take. I think also, but like, and I still think you would also. But I would throw Walsh in that mix maybe.
Show some respect to Vince Lombardi.
No.
Okay, fine. Anyway.
Yeah, no, I would still say he's like it's 1A, 1B, 1C for me with like Belichick, McVay, and Tomlin would be my guys.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, go ahead, Nico.
Yes.
Do you want to do another one?
Instead of just us talking, I guess, you asked this question, like, what are takes everyone should agree with on your Twitter? And there's 118 responses here. So I want to go through some of the ones that the people shared and talk and see if all of us agree as a unit of 4 here. So I guess the first one that I'm seeing is Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback in the league. And I guess I'll open the floor. Does anybody disagree with that?
I don't disagree, but I think there is an argument for Rodgers. So I wouldn't say it's like you're crazy if you disagree with that one.
Yeah, you might be, because Rodgers did win back-to-back MVPs. So I could get behind that, but I would still lean Mahomes.
Yeah, I think I would say it's Mahomes pretty solidly. I think I would agree that that's got to be the take. I don't know. It's Mahomes is actually not the best quarterback in the league. Is one of those takes that gets thrown around every year for like the sake of it. And I never see like a real strong argument for it.
Fair enough.
I think that. Yeah, I would say he is. I would even say like Rodgers for both of his MVPs. Like I could even see saying, if after watching that AFC divisional game between Mahomes and Josh Allen, being like, Rodgers isn't doing this. And honestly, I don't even think that's a bad take. So if you want to put if you want to say like the top 3 in the league are kind of the young elite guys, I would be fine with that. But I think that brings me to the next one that I'm seeing, which is Herbert is better than Burrow, is one that everybody should agree with. I agree with this, but it's definitely not one that this one has a lot of replies to it. It's not one that everybody agrees with, but do you think everybody should?
I think so. Personally, I think like I understand the argument for Burrow a little more lately, where it's like he's probably the smarter, just slightly more accurate quarterback. But I think with Herbert, his ability to make something out of nothing and just stretch the field is what would put him above Burrow for me.
I think that goes back to the quarterback wins thing. Like, I don't want to say the gap between them is like an insane amount or like be like, Joe Burrow slander time. But at the end of the day, it's like you have to basically say that him making the Super Bowl is like the main reason why you think he's better than Herbert, I think.
Yeah.
Because I think Herbert's pretty solidly better than him. So I say I would agree.
Yeah, the arm talent is in just different stratospheres. Yeah. And it's like, then people will say, well, Burrow's intangibles are better. And it's like, are they? Like, is he really like that much better of a decision maker? Because, I mean, that doesn't reflect anywhere that I can see. Like, I've never been under the impression that Herbert is like bad at that at all or inaccurate. No, he's just dumb.
He's just a mindless, physically talented guy.
Yeah, he's basically like Josh Allen.
Jamarcus Russell.
Right. People act like he's Josh Allen 3 years ago. Or like some of these Burrow fans act like he's just, got no, like Burrow has intangibles and Herbert doesn't. Like, no, actually they both do. I think Herbert's pocket presence is arguably better, and I guess then it comes down to like leadership, and it's like I don't know, man. I'm not going to speculate.
Well, and you can also point to like, oh well, Burrow had Jamar Chase and T. Higgins and Tyler and CJ Uzama and Joe Mixon stayed healthy, right? Versus, who was Herbert throwing to? The receiving core that led the league in drops. So
I mean, I think like the offensive line, great offensive line, bad offensive line, great receivers, mid receivers. I think it's like equal, but what Herbert did year one, I would say, was definitively more impressive than what we saw from Burrow.
Let's see. There's another one here that is another quarterback. Kyler is better than Lamar Jackson is one.
Sorry.
And this one I know is not one that everybody agrees with.
No.
Sorry.
But, Nico, I know where you stand on this one, so why don't you lay it on us?
Like I've been the one that I guess started that narrative, and it didn't come out too well received. But I think like with Kyler and Lamar, you say, well, Lamar's the greatest rushing quarterback of all time, but Kyler Murray is also, like, I would say, one of the very best in the league at, executing read options. And, I would say he's probably the best playmaker in the league. Like, that dude should get sacked 20 times a game, but somehow he only gets sacked like once or twice. And then I would say, a significantly better throw. I think Lamar, I'm not going to be like the guy that says Lamar can't throw, but for me, Kyler's accuracy is probably top 5 in the league, and he's got a better arm, even though Lamar kind of does have a cannon at times.
Yeah, I think Kyler, I don't think it's like the worst take in the world, but I do think like I do want to see Kyler put it together for kind of a whole season of elite play because, we've seen he's small. We've seen the injuries these last couple years. And I guess Lamar got hurt last year as well, but we've seen kind of the avoidance of the middle of the field. I do think that that's a very important area that you need to be able to unlock. And I just don't know if we're ever going to see Kyler unlock it. And I think like with Lamar, he is so good as a rusher. Like I even think that he's a tier above Kyler in that area. And I do think just with his general stature as a thrower, he may not be quite as physically gifted at it, but I actually do think that having him at quarterback unlocks the entire field more than Kyler does in a strange sort of way. So that's why I lean Lamar, even though Lamar's passing stats weren't that good this year. The other thing about Lamar is that the passing plays in his playbook aren't that good. So like it's kind of tough to like, tear shit up when it's like that. And he did his in 2019. And I think he even grew as a passer since then in ways that people don't give him really credit for. But
that throw in the Chiefs game still gets me. Where he jumps through the offensive line.
Right. He read in that play that not only is the jump throw like sick, but he went like 1, not there, 2, not there, 3, not there.
He wanted Andrews and Andrews fell down.
He wanted Andrews and Andrews fell down. Then like the pocket's collapsing. He gets to his 4th read and then he has to do the jump throw. So it's like not only did he, do the sick jump throw, but he also, it was the reason he had to jump is because he read the entire field. So anyway,
nothing was there. I would have to lean Lamar. I really like not. I was gonna make a pun that he's head and shoulders above Kyler.
Oh
man! You should have replied to me with that on Twitter. You would have gotten like 500 likes.
I should have. I wonder if I still could. No, but here's the thing that I have a problem with Kyler is like him and Russ have very similar issues when it comes to their height, except like they deal with it in different ways. Right, Russ spends a lot of time in the backfield and he gets sacked a lot and gets hit a lot. Kyler actually does, I think, a better job of getting the ball out quickly. And you talk about like his arm talent, like it's very apparent. He has a quick release and he can get the ball like into tight windows. The problem is when you're small and you get the ball out quickly, you're not throwing that over the offensive line. That's why Theo said he doesn't really unlock the middle of the field. So Kyler gets the ball batted down at the line of scrimmage a lot. Like I think over the past 2 years, I think he leads the league. I know he led the league. I think it was 2 years ago, but I don't know if it's like still that. But you know, it was like him and Russ have that very similar issue. It's just it comes out in different ways. So I would take Lamar pretty handily over both of those guys.
Yeah, that's like I feel like we never really talk about Russ in comparison to Lamar. Where it's like they're kind of similar quarterbacks between him and Kyler.
Yes, and I would take Lamar over Russ for the same reasons, to be completely honest with you. So Russ is someone I've kind of cooled on over this last year and a half. We'll see if he can, pull it together. But I can also see like Nico, I can absolutely see like putting like Kyler, like what Kyler did the first 7 weeks of this season was like, I thought if the season ended at like week 8, he should have an MVP under his belt. So I could definitely see my opinion on that changing.
Unfortunately, there's a lot of more weeks after.
Unfortunately, there's a couple more weeks after that one. Next one.
You could have also made an argument for Lamar MVP 8 weeks into the season.
True.
So
yeah, Lamar was playing pretty well.
Next one is the Jaguars have the worst GM in the league. Can we think of any team that is more of a mess or
I can think of
more
one
poorly run? Browns?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, you can make that argument.
I think I would agree with that. I read some stat somewhere a while ago, which is maybe not the best citation, that like 25% of the complaints to like the players union and the NFL are like about the Jaguars. And maybe that doesn't speak on the GM or just like how the team is ran as a whole, but you also look at like what they've done and what their record is, throughout, the last 10 years or so. And outside of like the weird Blake Bortles team, they've been pretty consistently terrible. Obviously like their coaching hire last year was a disaster and that team is just typically one of the worst runs. So I would say I agree with that.
Yeah, I just think like when you look at it, what team on a regular basis does the stuff where you're like, oh, they're not serious? And it's like the Jags when they took ETN in the first round, and then when they somehow came to the conclusion that Trayvon Walker was the best age available, I'm like, what are you doing? Like how I can't understand that in the slightest, either of those moves.
And I think like even going back before he was on the Jaguars, Trent Baalke, I think the way things ended with Harbaugh was bad and alienating to me, one of the best coaches in football, Jim Harbaugh. I know that we've had some debates on whether that's true or not on this podcast, but I personally hold Jim Harbaugh in a very high regard as a coach. And basically Baalke, a power struggle with Baalke is what forced him out. And that's bad when you're forcing out great coaches like that, successful coaches like that. Again, Urban Meyer, like it was just an unmitigated disaster. We were just talking to Brad Spielberger on PFF, and he was talking about the Jaguars tax that allows, that makes Kirk. You have to pay Christian Kirk like he's AJ Brown. It's not great. Yeah,
and there's really no reason for there doesn't have to be a Jaguars tax. Like it doesn't have to be. It's not like there's some like doomed franchise that's just like in a bad spot or like. No, there's a Jaguars tax because it's a poorly run team. And it's been for a long time.
Jacksonville is like a dump or something.
Okay, first of all, I meant to bring this up in this Spielberger episode. When my sister ran a track meet in Jacksonville, And my mom and her come back and they're like, Jacksonville is terrible. It's a swamp.
No disrespect to Mrs. Kirk, but when her
Raleigh,
takes ever been good, do you think that she never? You think that she never misses?
I plead the fifth because if I talk, here's the thing: if I
speak, I'm in big trouble. Okay.
Yeah, it's like
okay.
None of us. I can't answer that.
I haven't been there, so I don't want to say. But I know people want to go to Tampa Bay, and that's also a city in Florida. So maybe Tampa Bay is way better.
It's not just a Florida thing. Like Miami's a nice city, Naples is a nice city, like Fort Myers area. Those are nice places. They said Jacksonville is like a swamp. It is just like wet, and there's a billion, like more, like I know there's bugs in Florida, but like there's more bugs in Jacksonville.
It's not Balky's fault. There's too many bugs. Too many bugs in Jacksonville.
Too many bugs in Jacksonville. They're stammering. They're like, Christian Kirk is on the hook for $12 million a year, and he's like, "Oh, by the way, there's no bugs in Jacksonville, right?" And then they're like, 18. How about we make it 18?
Every time
real
he finds a bug,
cover the bug spray,
cover the bug spray. I do want to go over another one of the takes from your video, Nico, which is that Derwin James is the best safety in the NFL by a mile. And the reason I want to touch on is because I've been doing my top 100 list, and every time I post, and every time I've posted one since number 84, it's been Derwin better.
Above Derwin James. I'm like, at a certain point, you just gotta let it go.
No, I think it's funny. Like I don't dislike Derwin James, and I think like putting anyone in the top 100 is a compliment. And there's like obviously a point. Like if I put Patrick Mahomes at like 90, that would be disrespectful.
Theo, the noted Chargers hater, BLAIDEN hates them.
Yeah, it's
I was right. Sadly,
yeah,
I was not a hater. I was spitting, sadly. But anyway,
no, I'm not a hater either. It's just like I don't think Derwin. It's like not that Derwin had a bad season, but there were some safeties last year that had some pretty outstanding seasons. So
I think like I definitely say Byard had the best season out of any safety. But like what Derwin was doing, I mean, you look on his pass rushing numbers, he's like third in pressures among safeties. He's like top 5 in run stops, and then he's top 20 in like all the coverage stats. I'm like, this guy does it all.
Oh, just wait till you see who tomorrow's. You're gonna like who tomorrow's is.
Really?
Actually, I can tell.
Holland?
It is Javon Holland. I can tell you
because boy, that one is gonna get people going.
Yeah.
BLAIDEN knows ball. I'm gonna spam retweet that.
Yes, I'm a big Javon Holland fan for a lot of the reasons why you like Derwin James. I think he does a lot. I think he's very similar in terms of ability.
I think like you watch his tape and he's just flying across the field. And like Brian Flores loves to use him as a pass rusher. And then there are these plays where he just lays the boom. I remember that play versus the Titans. I think Theo was the one that brought it up where I think Deontay Foreman was like charging towards the first down line. And he just completely bumped him away from reaching that.
No,
I think with Derwin, I mean, do you think that he's the best safety in the league, though? Even if you don't think he had the best 2021,
I would say that,
oh yeah.
Come on, it's tough. Like I'm trying to think if there's probably not a more consistently like the fact that he like had like it was like an all-pro rookie season, got hurt. And then came back and got hurt
again. Got hurt twice.
Yeah, and then was basically lost no step. Like he's probably the best. But like
apparently
the season
he's playing hurt too. Which I didn't even know.
I guess maybe that could be your argument why he's not the best is availability, I suppose. But
that is part of that. That is like one thing that concerns me. But like as far as like just going off last season, I don't think that was much of a concern, but like the season that Kevin Byard had was just unreal at the safety position. So I think there were like two guys that really like made Tennessee's defense as good as it was, and it was Kevin Byard and Jeffrey Simmons.
Oh yeah, I'm a big Jeffrey Simmons guy.
So yeah, but Derwin James like easily top 2, but I don't know if I would say he's for surely number 1.
I've got him at number 1. I think like just you look at the body type and the athleticism, like there's just not a lot of other safeties like that. And I think the same reason why you can say Lamar Jackson is a top quarterback, even though statistically maybe he wasn't as good as Kyler this year or a bunch of quarterbacks this year, if you're looking at like some of these advanced passing analytics. But I look at the problems that a Derwin James creates for coordinators on the opposite side and where you can line him up and what you can ask him to do. I think like just sheer faith in him erasing tight end, play like doing everything at his size is pretty impressive. So for me, that's kind of what it comes down to. I
think you could also include maybe Budda Baker in the classification of like
Justin Simmons, Jamal Adams, honestly, in that conversation, but he's got to get better at man coverage. But I guess,
I think I see the availability argument, but I think that if you're throwing that out the window, which you do a lot in like these kind of debates, then I'd probably
and Nico's take, it was best in the NFL by a mile when healthy.
Well, then
I guess I disagree with by a mile. I guess maybe that's what I would say, but I would put him at number 1. Anyway, next one, we've got the top 3 running backs in the league in no order. Like, just have these guys in the elite tier are Chubb, Henry, and Jonathan Taylor.
Perfect.
We all agree with that.
I agree.
Nico, I'm curious, what order would you put those 3 in? Now that we all agree.
He put out his top 10 running back list.
Fair.
We could just go over the top 10 running back list.
Yeah.
What are your top 3?
My top 3 is Henry 1, Chubb 2, and JT 3. I just think like Henry deserves the benefit of the doubt. I know like with running backs, I totally get, not tolerating injuries with them, but Derrick Henry went 5 seasons while only missing 2 games. And it's like he clipped up his foot, but he was still having a monster season.
Yeah, he was on pace for 2,000 yards again?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it was, again, like I put him in my top 100 because I was like, yeah, he got hurt, but when he was healthy, he was he was borderline unstoppable. So, yeah, I get Derrick Henry at number 1.
What order would you rank him in, Blaiden?
You know I'm a Nick Chubb guy. Nick Chubb has the best combination of breakaway speed, power, agility. He can do literally anything that any running back can do. I would probably go him. And then after the season Taylor had, I would lean Taylor, and then maybe Derrick Henry at 3. But that might be an unpopular take.
I actually agree with that order, Blaiden.
Yeah, I agree as well. I think Derrick Henry is amazing. Like they're all that tier 1 kind of above everybody. Yeah. But I definitely do think Derrick Henry. I guess what it depends on maybe is how much do you care about like the workload that they take on, right?
See,
like, how much does that matter to you?
I'm hesitant to call Nick Chubb the best running back in the NFL because I feel like the best running back in the NFL should just be the guy that you can pound it and pound it and pound it and pound it and, throw him swing passes. And I feel like Nick Chubb is he's like the 20 touches a game, whereas the other 2 are like 30 touches a game.
Well, then I have a bone to pick with you, Nico, because the guy that's taking touches away from Nick Chubb is also not on your top 10 list.
Oh, I mean, Kareem Hunt, Dearness Johnson better, but Kareem Hunt.
That's a hot take.
That's actually what I thought, because I was thinking my top 10 running backs. That's what I was thinking about for my top 10 running backs list. Is I had originally, I was like, Kareem Hunt is like, if Nick Chubb goes down, Kareem Hunt is a top 10 running back behind him. But then I thought, I don't even know do I really want to make the case for a guy who is running back, like the 3rd best running back on the Browns last year? I was like, I don't know if I want that smoke if someone says Kareem Hunt was the 3rd best running back on the Browns and you've got him top 10. I'd be like, man, you're not wrong. You're not
wrong. You're not wrong. That's the worst feeling.
I love Dearness Johnson too. And I also love, who's the other guy they drafted? He was kind of a receiver.
Guy.
Felton.
Demetric Felton. I love Demetric. That dude is so shifty.
He's just like Kadarius Toney. He's like Kadarius Toney, but he's there like running back 4.
That play versus the Texans was just crazy.
Oh my God.
Theo, I've seen you tweeting about your upcoming top 10 running back list. And I fear the worst when it comes to the Rashard Penny versus.
Oh man!
Well, I don't even know what I haven't done it. Well, I didn't say that he was over Christian McCaffrey.
No,
well,
I'm just saying, like I understand it's not in play at all.
That's not happening. Well, I don't even know where I'm going to rank Rashad Penny because, like, if you look at his game log this year, it's like 6 carries for 6 yards, 6 carries for 7 yards, and then with like 7 weeks left to go in the season, something clicked in his head and he just is like, Adrian Peterson joined the team. And he himself said, Adrian Peterson told me how to be a great running back. And at this point, I've got to believe him because he started running like prime Adrian Peterson, like the latter half of the season.
Dolphins hire AP as the running back coach. Oh my God.
Seriously.
Myles Gaskin supremacy.
Oh no.
Because I can't think of a weakness. Like if you watch the last half of the season in Rashad Penny, it's like his vision is like Le'Veon Bell. His size is, he's got like not quite Derrick Henry size, but he's got like the AJ Dillon size with Le'Veon Bell's patience and like the breakaways, like great breakaway speed and contact balance. It's like, bro, this dude rocks.
It's like the David Montgomery
you see those
meme.
Instagram posts where they're like, here's the best part, like create your dream running back.
Oh yeah,
like, just
you guys,
He's just a Madden creative
seen the
player.
David Montgomery meme where it's like when he was at Iowa State, ESPN had this graphic and it's like the vision of Le'Veon Bell, the speed of Chris Johnson.
What's funny is that player didn't even age well. They were like, at the time it was crazy, but they did like the speed of Ezekiel Elliott and like the footwork of Sony Michel is what was on that graphic. And I'm like, damn, this is actually not that.
That's kind of harsh.
They ended up being right about this, but just not in the way that you would think.
Anyway. Apparently Zeke slimmed down, so...
Zeke is underrated at this point. That's my take. I've gone from someone who hated Zeke for so long.
Oh yeah, that was one of your earliest takes.
One of my earliest takes, and I had the take before I even made the TikTok. I was defending that take when Pollard was a rookie and Zeke was like leading the league in yards, and everybody thought I was just crazy. But now I think it's a pretty commonly accepted take that Zeke is trash when he's really like, I mean,
it's all right.
He's a good instructor.
In about a week and a half, I'm about to defend Ezekiel Elliott.
Why is he that high on your? Is he that high on your list?
Oh no!
Is he actually?
Maybe it's not a week and a half. I don't know exactly where he comes up, but
I don't know if he was like a really high good player. And I don't know if I'd go that far.
Spam in your replies above Derwin James? Question mark.
Yeah, he comes up in about a week, not a week and a half, but
man. Well,
I'm excited.
You are not too low on Ezekiel Elliott.
No, you're not too low. I'll say
high.
that.
I thought he had a pretty good year last year. So,
Nico, I guess I want to ask you, with all these lists you've been making, what is your process with that, and like what resources do you use, and what do you value? Like with me, when I make lists, it's mostly like talent over production, and with all of my lists that you're gonna see, you'll probably be like, man, how is a guy over another guy when guy B had more yards than guy A? So that's kind of like the way I view sports, is like a lot through talent and like the challenges they present a defensive or offensive coordinator.
I think it's like,
what is your process like? What do you look at?
I'm mainly a traits guy, and like the main resource I use is PFF, not the grades, but I think they have like a lot of really interesting stats, like especially for I think yards per route run is one that is really cool to look at for receivers. I think for running backs, there's rushing yards over expected, I think, is an interesting one. That's what really made me realize how good Dearness Johnson was last year. But mainly I'm a traits guy. I'm like a big fan of the shameless, like Ezekiel Elliott can't do this. Like you show a video of some player doing something, it's like, he can't do that.
I also enjoy that. And it's true. It really is true. That's why Tyreek Hill was my number one wide receiver, is just like that last play against the Bills, or one of the last plays where he took it to the house. It's like no one else can do that, right? Yeah. Like that's a superpower. No one else can do that. And, it's suicide to guard him one-on-one with no safety help just because of his speed. And like at the end of the day, no one else is doing
yeah, and
that.
it's like a lot of stats just can't really give you the context you need, because like you could go and say Travis Kelce's the greatest tight end of all time, but when you turn on the Travis Kelce tape, you're not taking that guy over Gronk or someone.
Yeah, I'd agree. So, I guess what is the player on your lists that has gotten the most hate? What have people been the most mad at?
I mean, I'd say the Kyler over Lamar take was
right.
really. Also, my thing where I said, like, I don't know how you guys feel about this, but I personally am willing to put rookies on my list. And I'm like, I know they haven't come into the league and done it, but like, I would take Breece Hall as my starting running back over, like, a Cordell Patterson. And it's like, a lot of people just absolutely despise that.
I think you're right. It's pretty rare where that's the case. Like there's some positions like a quarterback you could never do it with.
Oh, no.
Or even a receiver, I think it'd be really hard. But like you knew Kyle Pitts was going to, like if you'd said Kyle Pitts was a top 10 tight end going into last season, you'd be right.
I
this
said
happens
he was
in
fourth.
Fantasy a lot.
I said he was the fourth best before he played a snap, which is true.
It's true.
It's true.
You know ball.
That was legitimately true. I think like you've got to be really, really like careful with it though. But with Pitts, like, yeah, give me Pitts over TJ Hawkinson, sadly, even though I hadn't seen him take a snap in the NFL. Like, anyway, I digress.
I think
that's a decent take.
Yeah. For like guys that I'm really confident in, like I am absolutely sure that, I really like Breece Hall as a prospect, and I'm absolutely sure that he can come in and be one of the above average bell cow guys in the league. Yeah.
I think, you got to use it pretty sparingly, but with some of these generational prospects, I would say like, it's okay if you would rather have, because it's true. Everyone knows it's true to a point. Everybody knows that you would rather have Jordan Davis than, who's a horrible Jerry Tillery. If you're if you're a two gapping team,
one of the Browns interior defensive linemen, except
right, like everyone knows that that's
rookies.
But like it gets to the point where that's like just a take that is a little bit too hot for some people. But I don't. But like, what did you have any rookies? You had Breece Hall in your top 20 running backs list?
I had Breece Hall at like RB 19. I had Kyle Hamilton as an honorable mention for my top 10 safeties.
Good call.
Those are the two I only remember ranking like any bit high. I didn't say like Sam Howell's better than Trevor Lawrence, as much as I would love to.
Oh man.
Yeah, don't push that narrative.
Yeah,
don't push that narrative. That one's I'm afraid I'd have to
Sam Howell is, an above average quarterback already.
If I see that take on my timeline, I'm afraid I'm gonna have to dip the pen. So
you're gonna tweet the link to that article where he's like, I've only had one hot dog ever, or whatever.
Sam Howell will be the death of the Commanders.
He's gonna be the death. I love that
Sam
take, man.
That was such a funny video.
I guess what else is maybe this then? Maybe it's the same question, but what is maybe the hill that you're most willing? Maybe we've already covered it, but the hill that you're most willing to die on with some of these lists or takes. Like, I guess maybe it is your most controversial ones, but one that you just are like have all the conviction in the world in that maybe people don't see. If there's one that we haven't talked about,
for me, it's really Kyle Pitts, because so many people are obsessed with the he hasn't caught a touchdown on American soil thing. I'm like, I am so confident that this guy is going to be wearing a gold jacket one day. And it's like,
that's such a funny stat, dude.
It's like, he's not a red zone threat. How many touchdowns in America does he have? Play and tell me that you wouldn't want to throw a goal line fade to that guy. Like,
right. It's like Julio too. Like Julio on the Panthers, like famously, like not that he never caught touchdowns, but he wasn't a touchdown maniac out here, like scoring left and right.
But literally when I watch Kyle Pitts, I feel like I'm watching Julio again.
I might take Pitts over Kelce in a neutral situation. Like I think you're right. Like Pitts, I don't think it's possible to be too high on Kyle Pitts. I think isn't. No matter what you say, it's going to be right eventually. That's kind of my take.
That's fair enough.
You guys hate Travis Kelce.
No, I
Travis
don't.
Kelce. I love
just
Travis
said you
Kelce.
did.
I didn't say I hate him. I say like in a world where if Pitts and Kelsey swapped spots, I think I think I would bet on Pitts having like a substantially better year.
That's also partially because Atlanta
Marcus Mariota and Arthur Smith and see what happens there.
Pitts is like the play that I shared on TikTok where he ran against that route from the slot against the Bills, where he flattened that route out and got like 3 yards of separation, made the catch like way behind him, kept going full speed, stiff-armed the shit out of Micah Hyde, tiptoed the sideline, and then ran like another set. It's like, Nico, like you said, Travis Kelce is not doing that.
We have seen in person Travis Kelce catch like a 60-yard game winner.
Actually, that is true. That is true.
But just because he just knew where to go. He wasn't going incredibly fast, but they didn't catch him. And he scored the touchdown.
That's true. And it's the same Cooper Kupp, right? Cooper Kupp's not doing the same thing Tyreek Hill's doing, but like...
And Tyreek Hill is better.
Cooper Kupp... but were the Chiefs in the Super Bowl?
Yeah, how many Super Bowls?
All I'm saying is Tyreek Hill, not a winner.
Are wins a quarterback stat? No, they're a tight end stat. Kelsey better.
Kelsey better. Well, if you want to get into the question of the week from our chalkboard, Danny King asks, what game show would you win?
I've thought about this. I think like none of them, honestly. Maybe The Price is Right I could get lucky on, but I'm terrible at trivia. I can't spell, so I'm done on Wheel of Fortune. And those are like the only ones I can think of. So
you don't think you couldn't win a game show? I think I could win Wipeout. Right.
Oh my gosh,
that's the hardest one. I think I'd make zero obstacles.
That's the hardest one.
That would be the most fun one. Like, I don't even care if I win it. I just want to go on there and try it because I feel like that'd be so fun.
I think, look, in middle school, or maybe it was high school, they brought in like, you know, the big balls, the red things that you got to jump across. They literally brought like a version of that in our high school. And no one could get across it, and I got and that's what I'm basing this take on, is the time I got across the big balls in high school. And it's like, give me a second to study the course. Like, I don't know if you can study the course beforehand because they do switch it up in these episodes. But like, give me enough Wipeout episodes. Like, they don't have unlimited courses. Like, I know what they're gonna throw at me.
They might have unlimited courses, man.
They do not have unlimited courses. Like, look.
You never know when they pull out the 10 spinning chainsaws that you have to duck.
This is not American Ninja Warrior, all right? These things are not the craziest things in the world. If you fall in, it's literally just like how fast you can just skip the obstacle. If you fall in, just like go back up the thing. So just like run. I watch so many of these Wipeout contestants just like slowly like crawl. I am beating the shit out of them in Wipeout. But anyway.
Theo, here's where they're going to get you. They're going to get you when the same people that do Wipeout also do American Ninja Warrior, and they test you beforehand, and you're too good for Wipeout, and they just put you on American Ninja Warrior.
I'm not winning American Ninja Warrior. I'm not getting through a single... Anyway.
All right. What's that game show called where, like, they have, like, the money in the box, and there's, like, this fan spinning it around. You have to grab as much of it as possible.
That's not the Price is Right, is it?
I have no idea.
It's probably called like Money Tornado or something like that.
Yeah, something like that. I feel like
that literally sounds like the shit from BoJack, where BoJack has to go on Mr. Peanut Butter's game show.
Okay. I know what you're talking about.
And it's against the guy from Harry Potter. It's like
I do remember that scene.
Yeah, it's
I think I could also win Are You Smarter Than a Fifth Grader? Because look, I'm smarter than a fifth grader. Okay,
yes,
I've never seen that show, but like based on the premise,
they're not asking like football questions though. They're asking like U.S. history.
Yeah, I could win game shows about football. Those are the ones I could win.
Is football a game show?
To break down Cover Zero, and he stands no chance against Theo.
Theo's wiping the floor with a fifth grade football player.
How should have Jordan Davis played this scoop? Can you please like break down why he did a good job here? Is football a game show? No, it's a sport. It's a different thing.
If you said I'm going to turn on a game show and then you turned on the NFL,
53 contestants compete in a game for the ultimate prize.
106 contestants.
Although I think you could start an argument on Twitter about that. I think you
That'd be
could.
funny.
You could make a
Let's
case
tweet that
for
out
it.
from the Stay Hot account.
It's a game and it's a show, man. What are we talking about?
This is like when Blaiden tried to say that Chipotle isn't fast food.
It's
when
not
it
fast
is,
food.
In
It's
fact,
not. I'm sorry.
fast food. Fast
casual.
casual what?
It's fast. If it
doesn't have a drive-through, it's not fast food.
That's not
Oh,
true.
Not true.
look at that.
Not
Look at
true.
That's not true.
You're
Look at
saying
that.
Panda Express isn't fast food?
I mean, it's a sit-down place.
Well, actually,
No,
Panda
it's-
Express.
Oh, Panda Express has a drive-through. No, so it
Not
is
the
fast
one by
food.
not the one by my.
There are Panda
school.
Expresses
And you
with
you
drive-throughs
go to
that
a
you
mid
sit-
Panda Express then.
Well, is
Yeah.
it a different? Is it not fast food? My location because it doesn't have a drive-through. Is
In
this one
general, a
different?
Panda Express would have a drive-through.
Yeah.
But mine that doesn't is not fast food.
No, oh my! I'm not gonna. This
He
is
just doesn't get
Fast
it. Okay,
casual
Blaiden?
what?
this is a zero faith argument, Theo.
No, it's not
This
fast
is
casual.
shameless.
Fast
Because
casual
your
what?
Arizona State food court doesn't have a drive-through doesn't mean it's not.
But
fast.
Chipotle doesn't have a drive-through because of like the way that you order the food, not
Okay.
because of how
And
you
that's-
eat it.
and
when,
that's what
okay,
makes
I'll
it
ask you
not
this:
fast
do you
food.
sit down more
Wait,
often
wait,
than
wait!
you just
No,
leave
no,
the
no!
store?
You can build your plate at Panda Express through the drive-through.
Yeah, and Panda Express is the exact same way as Chipotle. When I get Chipotle, 9 times out of 10, I am leaving the store immediately. I'm not sitting down. And I would guess that you don't sit in Chipotle more often than you leave with the food.
Chipotle.
So
I
then
actually
you
do
go
sit
in, you
Chipotle,
order the
but
food,
I also,
you get it almost immediately after you're done ordering, and then you leave.
fast casual what? That's all I gotta
mean,
say.
I
Is it
The
sit
fast?
down
difference
at
between
Chipotle,
fast
but maybe
casual
that's
and
me.
fast food is literally it's about like ambiance and like and aspects of like
There's no
menu.
ambiance when I'm watching like 15 DoorDash orders get picked up like 2 feet away from me.
I'm just
it's
saying.
fast food.
It's
The
not fast
ambiance
food,
inside of McDonald's and the ambiance inside of Chipotle is the same thing. And
it's
ambiance
not.
inside of
Well,
McDonald's.
the ambiance at my local Thai restaurant is the same way as the ambiance at Chipotle.
Well, it's a restaurant like inside. I don't know. It's fast food.
Anyway,
I order it.
Anyway, that is
and
not
it's
the question of the day. That is not the question of the day. The question of the day is game shows. Now, Matt
I've given
knows.
2. What do you
Matt,
think?
Matt knows.
Just
what
give your
game show I
take,
would
Blaiden.
win.
Which game show do you think you'd win?
I asked Theo before the episode if he knows which game show.
We've talked
I would
about it
win.
before.
I said American Idol just because of the
My album. That would be great promo.
He
for
would
my
also
album,
win
you're
that
right.
one.
Yes.
But that's not what I was going for.
What are you? I don't know what you're going for.
I'm disappointed in you. The Bachelorette.
Oh,
The
duh. Yes, you would win The Bachelorette. Yes,
With
you would.
ease, might I say.
With ease, might I say. Of course, you'd win The Bachelorette. I'm sorry. We've literally talked about this, and it's going to happen. We're going to get you on there. We're going to get you to the level of fame that you're on The Bachelorette.
All right. That's
Talk
a
to the
good
girls
plan.
about how good Kyle Pitts is, and then you'll win.
That's what my TikTok was. Is like, ladies, like, listen, ladies, if you're talking to a man, right, the only thing you need to know is how he feels about Kyle Pitts. That's it, right? Just ask him, like, is Kyle Pitts top 5? And if he says no, then break up with him, like, plain and simple.
This is maybe a messed up. I don't. What's the game show where the goal is there? It's just a bunch of hot people in a room, and the goal is you
Like-
can't have sex
Oh, I
with
know.
any of them. I'd win that game show.
I would lose that game.
I can do that easy.
Nico, you're a minor, but I could win this game show where the goal is just like be here for like 3 weeks and don't have sex with anybody. Like if I have my phone, just like okay, all right. It's in like a beautiful location too. It's like on the
can't
beach.
remember. Yeah, I've
it's
seen
like, bro,
it.
give me
It's,
a fish. You've seen it? No, I've seen it too.
I've seen it.
I've seen it too. I was
It's a
gonna
good
try
show.
I was gonna try to take a moral high ground right there, but I was actually just straight up lying to you right then. But just give me like a fishing pole and just like the gorgeous beach, and it's like whatever's going on behind me is going on behind me.
I'd win that one with ease because I'd be too busy fishing.
I would legitimately
no problem.
They've
winning
got
that,
this
dude.
beautiful ocean. I would be busy with work. I would be busy with fishing and just exploring the general area. I could win that one. Anyway.
What's your
Our
match
producers. Matt, you
My
gotta
show?
pick one. You gotta pick one.
Well, I was gonna like ironically say like America's Next Top Model, but I think that'd actually be like the most horrifying game show to go on.
You're tall.
That's not enough. They like
tall jawline.
They would
blue
want.
eyes.
You know, I don't know if you guys ever watched America's Next Top Model.
I haven't.
But there's always one episode where they decide to like butcher everyone's hair. I would leave. There's always someone who like backs out and they're like, I don't want because they're gonna cut their hair like horribly or whatever. I would be the guy who backs out after that. I also don't. I think modeling would be very tough. I'll say The Price is Right is probably the one I have the best shot at, but there's probably something I'm not thinking about that maybe I
do. We watch game shows? Nico, do you watch game shows? Does Gen Z? I don't watch many game shows.
I don't really watch game shows, but I will say the one show, and I'd actually like to change my answer, is I think I could go on a cooking show because I'm a pretty good cook myself.
What was he cooking?
Any of those Food Network shows, maybe I could beat Bob.
You think you could win Master Chef?
Could you win Hell's Kitchen?
What's your favorite thing to cook? What's your favorite like if you were on a cooking show and they're like, give us your best dish here, what are you whipping up?
Ooh. Probably a nice pasta dish.
All right,
maybe
okay.
Like some tomato, a really fancy tomato sauce.
Okay.
So you weren't a fan of my Italian food take that almost got me.
No. I mean, I like all food, so whatever you put at number one, I probably would have gone behind.
Okay.
Fair enough.
Okay.
Personally, I'd be making some French toast.
You'd be making some Hello Fresh and passing it off as a
shameless game show appearance ever.
Hey,
what about those TV shows, those cooking shows where you like sabotage the other people on it?
Survivor,
Cutthroat Kitchen, where like you have to pay $500 to make someone else cook with like drills as like spatulas.
Hell yeah, man!
I feel like awesome. I feel like people do that on TikTok. They just like cook with drills or something.
I also think I could maybe win Survivor for the same reason I could win the game show where you can't have sex. It's just I'd explore the island and I would fish.
No, actually, Theo, you know what game show you would win, Theo? Naked and Afraid.
I would win Naked and Afraid. Is that even a game show? Or is that just a TV show? Look,
I guess that's more reality.
We're talking
TV.
About reality shows, at this point. But they count.
They count. Okay. I think it kind of counts because you do win, right?
I would win Keeping Up with the Kardashians. Let me in there. I'm beating. By the end of it,
you will declare yourself the best Kardashian of them all.
The whole Kardashian will be gone. It'll just be Keeping Up with the Ash. And by the time I'm done with the game show,
Ash. Time to make my top 10 running backs.
So I went for a run today, but I felt tired at the 1.8 mile mark, so I stopped. That would be Keeping Up with the Ash. Anyway.
He just has a picture of Jerry Tillery that he just like throws an axe at every day.
Picture
I
of Jerry
have my own like fathead Jerry Tillery that I chuck axes at.
I got a picture of Jerry Tillery that I chew on when I'm angry.
Jerry Tillery is not a fan of the Stay Hot podcast, but I think that pretty much wraps things up for us. This has been another long episode. We've had multiple long episodes, and people seem to like the long episodes. But you know who hates the long episodes? Our video editor. So for that reason, it is in everyone's best interest if we give you all a little bit of time back. But as always, appreciate everyone tuning in. Nico, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, guys.
It has been an absolute pleasure having you on again. We will, of course, have to bring you back again another time. But as always, actually, okay, Nico, so you know how we're like corn boy, bird boy, lemon boy?
Yes.
What's your thing?
Ooh. I might have to
Cooking
get back
boy.
to you on that one.
Cooking boy. You're a cooking boy for now.
Pasta boy.
No, he's a Chef Boyardee. He can be Chef Boyardee.
Ooh, I actually like that one.
All right. So as always, from Chef Boyardee, Corn Boy, Bird Boy, and Lemon Boy, we will catch you all on the flippity flop. What's up, everyone? I hope you all enjoyed this episode. I know you trust us with your sports content. So Blue Wire now has a new podcast called Don't Trip, where they give sex, relationship, and dating advice. So make sure you hit the link in the description and subscribe for Don't Trip's hilarious and insightful content.